I'm Heath Lambert, and you're listening to Marked by Grace, a podcast applying the grace of Jesus to all of life. It's the week of June 3rd, and this week I'm handling a very sensitive question, and it concerns whether parents will be reunited with miscarried babies in heaven. I'm going to take this question this week and am happy to take any question that you send in. We try to do at least one a week. Sometimes we collapse questions together, but I would love to get to as many of them as I can. You can send them to markedbygrace@fbcjax.com. That's markedbygrace@fbcjax.com. And the question this week is actually a little bit more specific than I mentioned in the headline, and it's specifically asking whether miscarried, aborted, or stillborn babies get reunited in heaven with their parents if they are there. So if the parents are in heaven, will they be reunited with the precious children that they lost in infancy or in birth or even in the womb? Okay, so listen, there are a couple of issues here that are on the table in order to getting to the answer. And the first issue is whether babies go to heaven when they die. Now, I answered this question on a previous podcast. If you're interested in going back to listen to that, you can find it on May 23rd, 2022. It's that edition of Marked by Grace, and you can listen to that wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm not going to repeat everything that I said there, but I will just say that I do believe the answer is yes. Just to say very quickly, I think we can trust that babies who die in infancy will be in heaven. David in 2 Samuel 12:23, he said of that child, "Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he will not return to me." So David has hope that this child who has died is not coming back. He won't see him again in this earth, but he will go to see him again. And so he has some confidence there. There is another passage of Scripture, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 10. It says, "We must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body." Now, this is very important because the Bible teaches the doctrine of original sin, that we are all born, we're all conceived, separated from God. And what that original sin does is it ensures that we are separated from God, and that as soon as we can, we will live out that separation in actual deeds of unrighteousness. But 2 Corinthians Chapter 5, verse 10 doesn't say we're judged before the judgment seat of Christ. It doesn't say that is based on our original sin, but it is based on what we do in our body. And so I think that there is some reason to believe that babies who die before they have an opportunity to live out their original sin and their actual deeds of disobedience, I think there is reason to hope that they will be accepted in heaven by the grace of Jesus. Now, there's a lot of other things to say about that. Again, I talked about it in that podcast that I referred you to. But that's one crucial issue that we've got to figure out about this reunion that we're talking about. Here's the second issue. Will we recognize in heaven the people with whom we have relationships in this life? Okay, so this is a crucial part of the question, if you understand. So when I get to heaven and I'm there in heaven with you, will you recognize me? Will I recognize you? Just pick my wife, Lauren. My wife, Lauren, is my best friend. I know her better than I know anybody else I've ever known in life. We've lived together as husband and wife for 21 years now. And when our union is separated by somebody's death, and then we walk by each other in heaven one day, will we recognize each other? More to the point of this question, will you recognize the child that you lost in infancy? And I think we have biblical reason to believe that we do have recognition of those with whom we were in relationship in this life. In Mark chapter 12, verses 25 to 27, Jesus says, when they rise from the dead, they neither marry, he's talking about people here, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. And as for the dead being raised, have you not read in the book of Moses, in the passage about the bush, how God spoke to him saying, I am the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. He is not God of the dead, but of the living. You are quite wrong. Now listen, there's a lot going on in this passage, and I don't have time to talk about any of it. If you're curious, send in a question. Here's the reason I bring it up. Jesus is talking about dead people after they are alive in the resurrection. And he says that there is nothing about the resurrection. The Apostle Paul makes clear that we're going to look different and we're going to be different because of the glory of the resurrection. But Jesus makes clear in his teaching here that there is nothing about our resurrection existence that fundamentally changes our basic identity. Abraham is alive in the resurrection and is still Abraham. Isaac is alive in the resurrection and is still Isaac. Jacob is alive in the resurrection and is still Jacob. And so in the resurrection, in heaven, we don't lose our identities, but are recognizable as the people we were in this life. So, two foundational issues to answer the question. Do babies go to heaven when they die? I think Christians can believe that the answer to that question is yes. Will we recognize the people we knew in this life? I think the biblical answer to that question is yes. And so, will we be reunited with our miscarried, with our aborted, with our stillborn babies when we get to heaven, if indeed we have trusted in Jesus and believe in him and are standing in his grace to enter into heaven? I think the answer to that question is yes.